This episode of MMPQB is brought to you by Susan Barnett, licensed associate broker with Keller Williams Upstate Country Properties at 31 Main Street, Oneonta, New York. She's a member of the Otsego, Delaware Board of Realtors as well as the NYS Multiple Listing Service. To find your little slice of heaven in upstate New York, head to upstatecountryrealty.com. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for listening for another week. I'm MK, your host. Had a great time talking to Sam Kogon on this week's episode. As you will hear, he is an artist, he is a talent buyer, he is an agent, he is even a little bit of an actor. And at the end of this episode, we are going to hear one of his songs called Something's Wrong. So thanks again to Sam for joining me and for sharing your music. And enjoy the episode. On the line with me this afternoon, kind of a unusual afternoon call for me, is the extremely talented Sam Kogon, who I had played some of your songs on my locally grown show on Radio Woodstock, but I don't think we've ever really met in person, or, you know, I didn't know all that much about you. So when you hit me up and you were like, oh, I've done this, this, and this, I was like, oh, that's super interesting and cool. So you've been a booking agent for bands like the Zombies and Ronnie Spector. You've managed the Left Bank. You've played with a bunch of really amazing artists. You've currently got your own radio show, which I did know about. So we're going to get into all of that. But Sam, thanks for coming on and welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here, MK. And yeah, I was actually thinking earlier, I was like, have we ever met in person?
I
and
don't
we've,
think so.
you know, communicated back and forth. No, we never have.
Yeah, which is kind of unusual because I feel like for locally grown, you know, most of the folks that I played at one point or another ended up coming into the studio, and like I've met most of the people I played, I feel like at least once or twice, but you, I think, have just been too busy.
Yeah, I did come up for one locally grown, but I think you weren't hosting that one show, and I had to do it with a sub.
Gotcha. One of the rare, maybe like Lenny or somebody.
Yes, Lenny.
Yeah, well, Lenny was always very generous with his time and willing to fill in when necessary. But yeah,
Total.
So Sam, first and foremost, I want to ask you about the radio show because it's on KPIS FM. Am I saying that right?
You are, yeah. You wouldn't be the first one who's like, wait, KPIS, not KISS FM. It's kind of like a play on that.
I figured, yeah. I checked out the website and like they definitely lean into like the piss aesthetic. It's very funny.
Yeah, they've been on my radar for the last couple of years. They were kind of like an underground pirate kind of radio online style format. And I did a benefit show for them. And a friend of mine, Owen Klein, has a show. Actually, you should check that out if you like really digging into the old 45s. He's really great at that. And that kind of reminded me about this great station. And I kind of cut my teeth in radio. In college, I had a show. And I had so much fun. And I just kind of discovered what possibilities are there just by simply asking people. Like, I got my first interview ever was with Yoko Ono. And following her, because I got her, then I was able to talk with like Dave Davies of the Kinks and Julian Lennon and all these great people from, kind of my heroes growing up. But an interview on my show in college landed me a job as a booking agent, which maybe we'll talk about. But I always wanted to get back into radio, and there was an open slot, and so I just took it. And so I'm doing this show called Lavender Hour, and it's I'm just basically kind of having fun playing DJ, having my friends call in. I just had Ian Lloyd of Stories, who is a buddy of mine, talk about his all of his work, and I just want to keep doing this, and I'd love to have you call in and maybe guest DJ one night.
Oh, that would be a blast. Yeah, I really do miss the radio DJ thing. I mean, obviously, like, in my regular day job aspect of being a radio DJ, where I was just the afternoon drive host, I had a good amount of control, but I still had to stick to kind of like the Radio Woodstock sound. So yeah, like
Right.
it's kind of my dream to like be able to be like just play anything and not have to worry about like, whether my demographic
Yeah.
is going to go for it.
It's totally freeing. Yeah. I mean, I think we do abide by some rules, even though it's online streaming. But it's really the manager, Sherry, is wonderful and pretty much lets you have total control over your show. So
Yeah, this is
um,
maybe an extremely boring question, but is there different like FCC rules for streaming radio? I don't really know anything about it.
I think that there are still. I think it abides by similar laws, although I've probably broken them, and I'm only 5 episodes into my show. But yeah, like I think you're not allowed to play the same artist twice, and I've already done that,
Oh,
and I've
really?
already definitely cursed and all that stuff. So
You're not allowed to play
you
the
know,
same artist twice, like twice in the same show or twice like,
I think so. It's just some kind of weird
huh.
royalty, maybe.
That's
I don't
definitely
know.
not the case for terrestrial radio, because I mean we made whole segments out of that where you play like an old song and a new song from a band or whatever. Yeah, I
Right,
definitely did
right.
like back to back several times. So yeah, that's interesting. Is that again? This is for people listening who like have not worked in radio and don't care about these things. They're going to be like, oh my god, please stop. But I'm super curious.
Maybe it
um,
has something to do with the mechanical license and royalty. I'm just really digging up some words that sound good,
yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know.
Huh. Well, interesting. Yeah. Well, congratulations on getting back into radio and in
Oh,
such a fun
thank you.
way too. Yeah, the station looks really cool. Like I was just going down the list of like all the different shows that they have, and it looks super diverse and interesting. And it's got a very like, yeah, it feels very like underground piratey, which I don't know how much it is, but it feels that way.
Yeah, it's great, and it just gives a lot of voices that normally wouldn't be on the air. Some time. I mean, I guess my show is kind of queer friendly. I'm gay, so I just like to kind of, I don't have an agenda, but I do like, representation and being out there and just kind of playing, queer artists. It's definitely not the whole goal of it, but we
Yeah.
definitely play a lot of like David Bowie and T Rex and like Lou Reed, those kinds of artists, and
Yeah. Do you get
it's
into
fun.
do you have any good like modern queer artists to recommend, or do you stick to mostly like the classics?
Oh yeah, no. Actually, a local artist, and I don't think they'd mind me telling you about them, is Zanny Owens and their project. They were under the name Potted Plants, and I'm not sure what they're going by these days, but we actually write a lot of songs. We've started and we've performed it up in Woodstock at oh my goodness, my brain. What's the name of that wonderful venue in
Uh,
the Colony?
Oh, the Colony, sure. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
guess like the station, but yeah,
Um,
Colony also a wonderful
but they're
place.
they're they are a great artist. They should be on your radar if you haven't heard of them.
Yeah, I don't think I have. Which it's funny. Like I feel like I was so in touch with the local music scene, and having been out of radio for just like, however many months, 5 months or so, I'm already like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really, it's kind of like it's the name of the game. Yeah, I remember when I was a booking agent and I finally left my last agency, and it was like, it was actually a relief not to listen to new music for a minute, but then like I felt like I was like, wait, I don't know what's going on, and then I had to kind of get like back into it now
Yeah,
as a
dude,
DJ.
totally. I actually just this morning I was browsing. Stereo Gum just put out their 50 favorite albums of, or well, they said best, but really it's just their favorite albums of 2020. And I was going down the list and I was like, oh my God, I don't know like 75% of these. And five
I
months ago, when
know,
I was
I
a music
know.
director, I would have probably at least been aware of all of them, even if I hadn't like, given a deep listen to all of them. But Yeah, and also I had the very surreal experience of like, the Soccer Mommy album Color Theory was on there and I was like, that came out this year? That feels like a lifetime ago because I did add that one when I was still on the radio and I was spinning that
Yeah.
and I was like, that was a
They're
2020 record.
blowing up. I keep seeing more and more about them.
They're
Soccer
good.
Mommy.
They're really good. Or she, I guess it's really just her, Sophie
Yeah.
Allison and her band. But yeah, like it's kind of this like Gen Z aesthetic of, young indie rock where like it's not always my favorite, but I think that Soccer Mommy does it really well, which is this kind of like very chill, like aggressively quiet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't always love it, but I think that her songwriting is super strong, and she is deserving of the hype. But yeah, I don't know. Have you read the Stereo Gum list, or do you pay attention to those things?
I didn't know. I think I saw. I think maybe my friend Shamir is on it. Do you know Shamir?
I
They're
I don't.
really also a
Again,
really great
out
musician.
of touch.
Okay. So yeah, Shamir kind of was. I've known Shamir, I guess, maybe 5 years. Jeez, and he or they rather like were a huge pop star. They were like signed at 20, maybe 19, and then kind of was like really over the whole corporate thing, and now they're very successfully running their own label and coming out with self-released records. You really got to check out the newest Shamir, though. That's hot.
Yeah, I will. Spelled the way it sounds.
Yeah, I will send it your way.
Yeah, super curious.
Um,
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Good for them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But other than that, I have been kind of just listening to like what I like, and just discovering things on my own. My Spotify subscription ran out, and I decided not to re-up again.
Really?
Just kind of, yeah. I don't know if this is like something anyone else has expressed to you, but I'm just really over Spotify, and just I liked it at first, and I can't. My music is still up there, my records. It's great for that in terms of just a lot of people have it downloaded on their phone. So basically you're in everybody's pocket. But I mean, I'm sure you've heard of like the artist royalty fee that they pay,
Yeah,
which is basically non existent.
of course.
And also, I just don't like what it's doing for art in general and music as an art form. And basically now people and artists are making music, and like the term like make it more Spotify. Like I'm in a writing session, and like someone will be like, ooh, that's good, but let's make it more Spotify. And
Oh
it's like,
God, people
no.
are saying
Like
that?
what's that?
People are saying that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and they have been.
Ugh.
And it's a little scary to me because it's like, okay, wait, like you're making content for this thing, or is it the other way around? Like, is this thing for your content? And I think it's really truly the other way around, where it's people are feeding the machine. And in fact, like the CEO came out and was like, you can't expect to do well if you only put a record out every 4 years. Like all of our favorite bands spend years in the studio, spending thousands of hours and dollars and time and energy, all for what? Like, what are we supposed to do here? So I think it's becoming a little more known past just artists, past just people in the music industry, how bad off it is for people. So I think that there will be a new streaming kind of service for artists. I've actually kind of, I can't really talk much about it yet, but it's kind of incubating. But I've come up with some ideas that would possibly work out better for artists.
That would be great because
But
yeah, that was going to be my next question was like, do you still have a streaming service? I have friends who use Apple Music. I tried it back when I had like a free trial and ended up just not liking the interface as much as Spotify. I've never tried Tidal. I don't know if Tidal is an alternative really.
right,
Are you using
that's
anything?
apparently titles like they pay out the artist the best,
Yeah,
but it's
I
still
think that's
like
what I heard.
peanuts.
Yeah, well,
You
I
know.
mean, my boyfriend did make a good point. I think actually when I had him on the podcast, he's also a touring musician, plays bass in a metal band,
Oh, nice.
and that came up the Spotify thing, and like his take on it was like, yeah, it's a pretty shitty payout, but it's a better payout than say, like when somebody buys your CD, you don't get any money for spins of your songs that way, so at least you're getting something, which Like, yeah, I still think it should be
True.
more, but that was one way of looking at it. But I
I
just I
wonder though, like how many spins would equate to like the $10 CD? It'd have to be like
yeah,
thousands.
that is true.
But
That is true. But it's a $10 CD split between the all of the band members and the distributor. So really, like
right.
like his cut of it is not. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It all sucks at the end of the day. There's no good solution for currently. There's no good solution.
And it was kind of like the last 5 years piggybacking on the idea that okay, well, streaming sucks, but you can recoup your money on touring and merch, selling merch on the road. But like that's now
That's
gone.
gone.
So it's
Yeah.
just like, what, Patreon, maybe these subscription services. So I'm kind of exploring that route in my own music and yeah, just kind of seeing what others are doing right now and trying to get a gauge for like the next move, and it's really kind of a learning experience.
I mean, it is, yeah, and it's everybody trying to learn and trying to adapt at the same exact time. And of course, you have the massive artists who are able to who have plenty of money and are able to like kind of put out a record and just kind of go, oh well, I made this record in quarantine and here it is and blah 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 and everything's great and maybe
Yeah.
make some money off of it. But for folks who are career musicians but who are not making millions of dollars off of it, this is very much like a what the fuck do we do now kind of situation. And I
Right.
was talking to a friend of mine yesterday on an episode that I think will come out Monday, who also works in like the live event side of things. And we were talking about how there's other countries, especially in Europe. I think Ireland just passed some legislation where they are, supporting people in the live music industry right now and are subsidizing
Wow.
them a little
Yeah.
bit. And there are other countries that actually value the arts more that are like, yeah, like you guys are necessary, and you cannot currently work, so we are going to subsidize you. And like that is how it should be. And it's such a shame that in this country we're reduced to like, well, I guess everybody's gonna have to make a Patreon and hope that like there's enough extra money to go around for to somehow pay everybody's rent. Like that's ridiculous. You can't be expected to
Yeah.
survive off of Patreon.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, it's like what a concept. Like let's support the arts and artists, but it's just never was really something they did in the States. I mean, I remember when I was an agent, I was actually like working with US girls at the time,
Oh, they're great.
and they're wonderful, yeah, but they would be getting, I don't know if I really can talk about this, but like grant, as a Canadian citizen, you can actually apply for grants, and they
Yeah.
were not the only bands that I worked with that were Canadian, and the Canadian government would actually say, oh, you're going to represent our country, so here's like 10 grand to go out on tour,
Right.
and
Right.
that's like amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll have to space these episodes out because I just also brought this up in the other episode. But yeah, again, my boyfriend, was on tour a couple of years ago with a band that I want to say was from maybe Denmark, but I'm probably wrong about that. But somewhere in that part of the world, and they got the same thing. They had a grant to come over and tour. So, my boyfriend's band, which was like one of his smaller bands he was in at the time, it was a full U.S. tour, and they were kind of struggling because it wasn't really a super successful tour. But
Right.
the Danish band or whatever they were just like having a good time because they're like, yeah, we're just here for the experience. Like we're already paid for this, so
Yeah. It's amazing when you do get to perform internationally, the difference of how the artist is treated. I've done some small like runs of dates in the Netherlands, and I've played a couple of little house shows and a couple of little festivals, and just that experience was so great, and people are just so excited. Whereas in New York, if you go to like, down to, I mean not now, but like before, down to the Lower East Side, it was like bands are so disposable, go
yeah.
when I was first starting out and I had no idea like where to play, getting a show at Pianos or Rockwood Music Hall where you'd be on with like 5 or 10 other bands that night,
Hmm.
It's just like a whole other world.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
God,
I never played
I
one of
miss
those
touring.
shows myself, but like I remember seeing in pre-COVID times, like some of my friends, like, "Oh yeah, come see me at Rockwood Music Hall." And the first couple times, I was like, "Oh wow, that's amazing." And then I realized, like, no, you're on a roster with like 16 bands, and you're going
Yeah,
on at like 2:30 a.m. It's like Jesus, like,
yeah.
really? I
Did you
mean,
ever make it to Cake Shop?
no, I never did.
That was the only place that I think was in the Lower East Side that was really well done. Yeah, R.I.P. Cake Shop.
They're no
But
longer there.
and so many other venues. God,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, yeah, it's depressing. This is
yeah.
depressing. All this
I
we're
know.
talking about.
I know. And again, it's impossible not to like bring it up a little bit on every episode because it's a music podcast and we're all, in the same boat of like, yeah, the landscape looks nothing like it looked a year ago and probably won't look the same for many years to come because our country fucking sucks at wearing masks.
Yeah. But I think talking about it, just like, this conversation we're having, I'm taking away things, you're taking away things. Hopefully, like, you can continue talking with other music people and, we can kind of just keep the spirits high and it's really all about community at this point, I think,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
yeah, yeah.
Well, getting
But
away from that for just a second, Sam, I want to ask you, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but were you in The Irishman?
yes,
I
yes.
thought so, yeah, because we've been Facebook friends for a while, even though we don't really know each other. And I remember seeing that you were in a scene as a musician, right?
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. Just to make a long story short, the Scorsese's casting people actually reached out to me before for the television show on HBO called Vinyl. Did you catch that one? That was
No,
I
no, I
think
didn't.
Mick Jagger was the co-producer, but it was cool. It only lasted a season, but in any case, like I didn't get the role, but I got a call like a year or so later about being a featured extra, basically. But I was kind of, it's like a better role, I guess. I'm not an actor, but just to be in the scene. And what was really funny was I got an email and I was like, "Would you want to? Are you available? Can you send a headshot in?" And then I wrote back yes, and then they wrote me back 5 minutes later. Oh, sorry, we were looking at someone else. And then like I was like, oh damn. And then 5 minutes later, I get an email and it just says, "Wait, no, Marty wants you." And I was like,
Ooh.
Marty, okay. So it was just a dream come true. I mean, from just going to get fitted at one of the sound stages over in Queens, just to being on set for a whole entire week. I was in a scene where basically I'm playing Jerry Vale, who is like kind of like a knockoff Dean Martin, kind of like Italian American kind of singer, who is being portrayed by little Stevie Van Zandt
Oh,
from
nice.
the E Street Band,
Yeah.
and also the host of the Underground Garage. So he's also like kind of the reason why I got into radio. So I was like on set like with De Niro, with Pacino, but like I can't get over the fact that I'm like 5 feet away from little Steven. And actually on his show was the first time I heard The Left Bank, which is like it was like a whole full circle. And so I got to tell little Steven about, how he influenced me to get on radio, and then how I heard The Left Bank, and how I eventually became their management, and I actually sang with them, and it was just so cool. And yeah, it was just, and I was in the dressing room with Ray Romano, and we played word like apples to apples. Such a nice guy. And Anna Paquin was in the same dressing room too, and with her kids. Like it was just super. It was like so professional that it was unprofessional, if that makes sense. Like it was just it was so cool.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have not seen it's a movie, right? Not a not a mini series. It is.
But yeah, it could have been I
It's like
actually having
legendarily
seen it,
long.
it's long. It's like 3 hours. It's cool. I saw it with my parents at like the Bellagio Theater in Broadway before the theaters closed. That was like very special, and it was very cool. to be able to just see myself up there finally,
Yeah,
like a
of
year and a half
course.
later, because they kept pushing it back because of all the aging progression that they had to do.
Oh, right, right,
Um,
right. So there was a lot of like
but
hair growth that needed to happen.
yeah, it's something I actually thought was just kind of an amazing thing was that I actually befriended the music supervisor on set, Stuart Lerman, and him and I just became really buddy. I just have an affinity for older guys, I think, and we just shared like a lot of bands that we liked. He also liked the Left Bank, and I'm also Jewish, and I don't know. I think I'm like an old Jewish guy in a young guy's body, but he we just kind of kept in contact, and I sent him just on a whim just to get his. I never like to just ask people for favors, but if someone wants to listen, that's all you can ask for. So I just said, hey, would you want to listen to some of my demos? And he writes me back and he says, geez, these are cool. My friend John Agnello, who I have a podcast, Gear Club podcast with, that's also a great podcast, by the way, might be interested in recording you. So it ended up actually working out. So John Agnello is now producing me, and it's all through Martin Scorsese. So it's kind of like a
Amazing.
weird, like, long story short there. Well, actually, long story, long story.
That's okay. Yeah,
But
it's a long form podcast. We like long
but that's
stories here.
why that's why I love music, and I love it doesn't hurt to ask, because you never know.
Oh, for sure.
And
For sure. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, that is honestly something that I need to be a little bit bolder about because and I have all of these like wonderful connections still from my time in radio where it wouldn't
yeah.
be hard for me to like reach out to management and like aim pretty high, like there are probably some major artists that like I don't think I could get on my show, but you just got to ask and sometimes they're happy to do it. So, yeah,
Oh yeah.
thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, and it's something I have to remind myself of too, because it's like, I'll get in my head and I'll get a little self-conscious, but it's like, no, just have to have that confidence and, just, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. I loved listening to your show on WDST.
Thank you so much.
And
Yeah, I really
yeah,
enjoyed doing it.
I know. And I have listened to a couple of these podcasts too, so, I don't think it would be hard for you to get, I don't know. Who's your dream? Who's your dream to have on the show?
Honestly, and this is never going to happen, and I know that because this person is so careful about, their public appearances. But Taylor Swift would be my number
Ah,
one.
I knew you were gonna say. I knew it. I knew that
Because it's
because
no secret.
mine would be Paul McCartney, and actually they're both kind of hard to get.
Yeah,
So
and they just recently interviewed each other in Rolling Stone. Did you read that? And it
yes,
was great.
it was great. It was very cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
they're both kind of tough, not just because they're so massive, but also because like yeah, they're just very very careful about the interviews that they do, and they're both kind of like in very careful control of their public image, which I totally respect and is very necessary when you're at that level. But
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna get Taylor, but who knows? Like you never
You
know.
never know. It's yeah. Anything is possible in music. That's kind of my motto.
Yeah,
There are
exactly.
no
And
rules.
and it's so true that like, if you just have a couple people who are, generous with their time, like I had, the first episode of my show, and I'm so grateful for this. John Ferrara, who is the bass player for the band Consider the Source, was my first guest, and
Wow.
he's so sweet and awesome, and we had a great conversation about like psychedelics and midnight gospel and like all kinds of fun stuff. And just on the strength of being able to say like, hey, like John Ferrara did my show, like I was able to get some other folks, and like it's a lot of it is just like if you say, hey, this person did it, then maybe that person will do it too.
That's right. And you just build it and you just keep doing it and it's fun. At the end of the day, you're enjoying it. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And sometimes it's literally just like I'll hit up a friend who is also a musician and I'm like, dude, I just want an easy one this week. Like, come talk to me for an hour. It's the holiday season, and this week I've got something a little different to tell you about. Jam for Tots, in partnership with Toys for Tots and NYS Music. John Pinder and NYSmusic.com have been working with local musicians and toysfortots.org for about 15 years, bringing local communities together to help struggling families during the holiday season. Statewide concerts and fundraising events help collect toys and donations for their local communities. Local musicians like John Pinder put the pieces together on the ground level for fun, productive evenings of live music, collaborations, and fundraising in the Hudson Valley, most recently at the Stewart House in Athens. All donations go to families in the counties of which each event is held. Since live music events are not happening at the moment, we are at our greatest disadvantage to collect toys, while more families are in greater need than ever before. So online donations are desperately needed. Donation boxes are still located at select venues open for takeout and limited indoor dining like Crossroads Brewing Company in Athens, Hilltop in Tannersville, Putnam Place in Saratoga Springs, The Hollow in Albany, and Funkin' Waffles in Syracuse. However, the quickest and easiest way to donate is via toysfortots.org. Jam for Tots brings hundreds of people together each year, generating hundreds of dollars and hundreds of toys from cooperating venues across the entire state. This year, families are counting on online donations to fill that void. Go to toysfortots.org and donate. That money goes a long way for children and families. Not many people know this, but the Toys for Tots Foundation does a great deal for struggling families, including counseling, literacy programs, and so on. Please donate to toysfortots.org. Visit johnpinder.com for information on future Hudson Valley Jam sessions and local music. Check out nysmusic.com for statewide music and concert information. And most importantly, have a happy holiday, and thanks for helping us spread the good word. It sounds like you've done a lot in the music industry, and I'm curious, do you consider yourself mostly an artist, or are you, when things come back around, are you going to be, getting back into management and booking? How do you see yourself?
Yes. Well, I kind of left booking because I wanted to pursue my music more center stage and be more, just kind of more, not self-centered, but just, so I guess I would consider myself an artist, a songwriter, but, I do have that background, so I do still utilize all those skills, at least with my own music, and I'll book my own tours. I do have a manager at the moment. I'm working with this great guy, David Spiro. So he's cool. He'll help me out. He's connected me with some great people. Actually had me write with Patti Smythe.
Oh, cool.
Of Scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She actually just came out with a new record. It's really good, actually, worth a listen.
Yeah. Again, I'm out of touch. I would know that if I was still in radio.
Right. Yeah. But, and it's really nice to have these skills too, because if a friend will hit me up saying like, hey, is this a good idea to do this, or where should I play, or is this a good fee? It's nice to be able to do that. And also maybe one day, I don't know, I could have a consultant thing if everything else fails, but it's cool. I think that I can do just kind of, I talked about Paul McCartney, but a lot of people don't realize how much of a good businessman he is, and how he's kind of has his own publishing company, and that's really inspiring to me, seeing someone who is so creative but also has kind of a knack and affinity for business. And even if it's just from a point of just self-protection, it's just good to have. I think every musician, there's no excuse to be kind of like a dumb up and coming musician these days, because I think it's like you just have to be smart. And I don't know if that's answering any of your questions, but
no, it totally is. And yeah, I agree. There's so many resources out there now that it's funny, you say there's no excuse for being a dumb up-and-coming musician. And I feel like at age 31, who, being not a serious musician at all, very casual myself, I still feel like I'm a dumb up-and-coming musician.
Yeah, well, it's like you can like kind of create your brand, and the brand can be like this, but like going the whole time, like there's the plan behind it. That's kind of what I mean, like.
Yeah.
But actually, right now I'm actually unfortunately, it's actually really upsetting to say, but everybody in the band, the Left Bank original members, has actually passed away. But in a cool turn of events, I'm still managing the group and their legacy, and there's a couple of really fun, cool things that I can't really announce yet for the band, but things that are being worked on right now that I think will be cool for a lot of people who like that band and that music, and it's just really something fun for me to still be a part of too. So I
Yeah.
still wear that hat. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, got a lot of things kind of cooking.
I know it's always hard, especially now, during COVID, like so many people are just like working on some stuff that you can't really talk about yet because
Yeah,
who knows when
yeah,
it's going to be ready
and on
to.
top of that all, I teach music lessons, so it's just kind of like it's like a fun thing, like what I can pick to do today. Like, oh, I'm gonna teach, and then I'm gonna work on some, recording, and then I'm gonna write, and then I'm gonna, get on this meeting for this, left bank thing. So it's just kind of like it's fun, but
Yeah, a little bit of
I
this, a
do
little bit of
actually
that.
really love teaching, and that's been a really fun and good way of kind of keeping a roof above my head over
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. Do you have a pretty active client base? You keep pretty busy with that?
Yeah, it keeps me busy. I set a limit, but I've been kind of taking on some more students, and everybody's welcome, which is it's fun. I teach 5-year-olds, I teach 65-year-olds, and it's just kind of like a very rewarding thing to be able to give back, and especially with someone who wants to learn, and it's just that's really fun too.
Yeah, totally. And it's a wonderful thing right now to be doing, like there's no better use of your time if you can't go out and do the things that you used to love to do than learning a new skill, practicing, honing a skill. And I say this as a massive hypocrite because there are all kinds of things that like I want to be learning. But I have I'm really bad about sticking with things. So right now I finally have picked up my fiddle again and I've been practicing fiddle the last couple of days,
Oh,
which,
very
I
cool.
technically I've been playing fiddle for like several years now, but I'm so inconsistent with practicing that I'm at the skill level of like someone who's been playing for maybe a year. But that's fine.
That's why you say fiddle instead of violin. It's like,
Oh yeah, no,
it's
I
a
mean
little more forgiving. It's like
for
writing
sure.
Western versus like English or
For
like
sure. Yeah, I set out to learn fiddle, not violin. Like I have no and it's not even about like confidence level, it's just about like what I want to play. Like when really the kind of like violin playing that I love is like Irish fiddle or bluegrass fiddle,
mm,
like that's what really
yeah.
like rings my bell. So, yeah,
Oh,
I'm not trying
I
to.
remember in high school, Jay Unger came in, um, who was he did a show can farewell for the
Oh,
Civil
yeah.
War series, and
Mhm.
he's like one of my favorite fiddle players. And he's actually in your backyard. He's an upstate guy.
He is, yeah.
Um,
Actually, funnily
yeah.
enough, he is also kind of the reason that I decided to start years ago because I was
Wow.
bartending at Bearsville Theater, and do you remember they used to do the guitar? There was like a what the hell was it called? The Luthiers Festival.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was bartending at Bearsville Theater when they hosted a Luthiers Festival. This was years and years ago, and the closing like party, Jay Unger and Molly Mason and Mike and Ruthie got up all together, and yeah, like seeing Jay and Ruthie play fiddle, I just loved it so much. And like I've always loved fiddles and I've always loved violins and the way that they sound, but that was really the first time that I was like, if I love this so much, I should just start learning how to
Mm,
do it. And
yeah.
yeah, so I kind of like credit Jay with with getting me started.
Oh wow. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. And there's something about him too. He is that instrument. Like it's such a joy when you get to see someone who like just lives that, and it kind of exudes from them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And one of my other big favorites, and this is very much a violinist, not a fiddle player, but Owen Pallett. I don't know if you're familiar.
That's funny. He's a friend of mine.
No kidding. Oh my God, I adore him.
Yeah.
I tried reaching out to his management to see if I could get him on the podcast when he put out the most recent episode, but never got a response and was too shy to like bug them too much. But yeah, I
Oh
adore him
wow.
and have for
Yeah. Oh.
years. Like I got
Oh
obsessed with
yeah.
him back in the day. And I actually went to
Oh
see
yeah.
him. Yeah, he's one of my all-time favorites. That's so funny. How did you get to know him?
Um, we first met. I was asked to put together a CMJ. Do you remember CMJ?
I don't
I
know.
had to I had to put together a CMJ kind of lineup. I was like booking for a venue. It was actually like a crazy kind of a shit show. I had put together these amazing bills, and then other bookers came in that were apparently their official bookers, and kind of took all the credit. But it was okay. The shows still happened, and one of them was a showcase, and Owen was actually just playing backup for someone. And we met then, and we just kind of stayed in touch. And the last time I was in Toronto, we got dinner, and we still, I love the new record. Actually, I think that's maybe one of my favorites. It's very kind of like a Nick Drake
Mm-hmm.
kind of sound. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, no, he's just a super, really kind person, and really uh, just takes the craft seriously, but is just a very cool and fun person to know. And I bet you could get Owen on your show.
I'll try
But
again, and can I name drop you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, if I
say
say, hey,
Sam Kogan.
Sam did it.
Yeah, no, so but yeah, no, actually I remember yeah, he's great. And of course he works with all these bands and Arcade Fire, but he's someone that's I also took a page from his book, because he'll work with all these, well-known people, but at the same time, if you were to approach him to do orchestrations for your music, and he resonated with it, I think he would actually, work with an unknown,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
So it's that openness. I think that really kind of keeps someone, kind of on. I think just, when people get closed off or become the expert, there's like, you lose and you miss out on a lot of opportunities. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and you know him and I don't, so this is speculation on my part, but he always seemed like somebody who was not interested in being a celebrity at all, was just in it to make music and to, just experiment and express himself, and really
oh,
didn't
yeah.
care about like the rock star side of things at all.
Yeah, I think it just comes. It came secondary because of. I mean, you just look at all the content. I mean, all the good content he's just put out. It's just like he needed to do it. It was just it had to happen
Yeah,
because
yeah, and I mean
yeah.
his creativity and his melodic sense always blew me away. I actually, the first time I ever heard him was I was probably like 19 or 20 at the time, and I was living back home in Connecticut, and I was working at this restaurant that was kind of like a long drive away. So I would have this long commute, and I would listen to The Needle Drop on my local NPR affiliate, because for some
Mm,
reason like my commute would line up directly with the time that Anthony Fantano was on. And I found a lot of great music that way. And
yeah.
he played Owen Pallett one night because I think Heartland had just come out or was coming out. And I heard Lewis Takes Action, I think, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is
Oh
my new
yeah.
favorite thing!" And like just dug right into his entire discography and all of the old Final Fantasy stuff, which super resonated with me because I also used to love the music from the Final Fantasy games. So like
Yes.
that influence
Yes.
was like a big connection for me. And I also love a concept album, so Heartland and like the whole the Spectrum EP that went with it. Like I was just such a nerd for all of that shit. So yeah, it's really
Yeah.
great to hear that he's as cool as I always assumed he would be.
He really is, and he's so smart. It's actually scary how intelligent he is, and like just very well read. And hi, Owen, if you're listening. And yeah, it's just and me being a fellow queer gay musician. It's just nice knowing that there's someone out there singing about boys and people accepting it and people just loving it. So it's just you know
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just nice. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So who else are you into? What else is ringing your bell right now?
Oh, I mean, let's see. Actually, this a new friend of mine has a band called Power Violets. and that's a very good sounding record. It's actually just one person, but I think that's a worthy listen. Power Violet's new EP,
Nice.
kind of like a Liz Phair, kind of a '90s emo grunge kind of revival happening, and they're definitely at that kind of epicenter.
Great. Yeah, I love the
Yeah, I love
name.
that. Yeah, and also actually on the whole Violet thing, then another friend of mine has a project called War Violets, and they're more like kind of me, where I like they're going back to the '60s and doing like T-Rex and kind of like Marianne Faithfull, and they're another great act. God, there's just so many that we're kind of like in a great time for music, but it's just kind of hard to find things because like I was saying earlier about Spotify, we're kind of in our own bubble and we just are waiting for them to feed us songs, you know. I love
That is
discovering
true.
songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have fallen into that trap with Spotify a couple of times, and sometimes it's a wonderful thing. You know, I've been introduced to music that I may not have ever really found on my own through Spotify. But yeah, like I also resent their interference sometimes. Where,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Spotify, you're wrong. I actually don't like this at all, and it doesn't sound anything like what I was listening to. But I also, one thing that I really appreciate about Spotify that, I hope any other music services that, are less evil will keep this feature is playlists and playlists being able to be public, because I have found, like, for example, I went through a little bit of like a yacht rock phase this summer where I just wanted to hear a lot of yacht rock.
Mm,
And so I would just type
same.
in, yeah, so I would just type in yacht rock and find other people's yacht rock playlists, and like, just total strangers, just, like
That's
not not
cool.
not
Yeah.
corporate, playlists, like, here's the Gap's yacht rock playlist, but like just some random person in, who knows where, just making a playlist of Michael McDonald shit. And like, it's great.
That's that's a cool way of utilizing it in a way that I don't think they necessarily really want you to, or really that's like the goal, but that's actually smart. I like that.
Yeah, the
Like kind
playlists
of
are awesome. And
cre-
another great category that I got into this summer is Japanese city pop, which is very related to yacht rock, but it's from Japan, and it's like a lot of like 70s and 80s. It's super similar to yacht rock, really, except that it's in
Oh wow.
Japanese. So, and that was another one that I like found out about the style of music, liked the songs that I heard, wanted to hear more of it, and then just like found random people's Spotify playlists, and like so many of them are wonderful. And I've incorporated those songs into some of my own playlists, and I have this very part-time retail job in Beacon, and like I made a whole playlist for that. And
Oh nice.
yeah, so it's
Cool.
I do love that
Wow.
feature, and I would love for there to be an alternative to Spotify that I don't feel guilty about using, and I hope that they maintain that feature if you or anyone else makes it.
Yeah, yeah, maybe well, the more we put pressure on them, I think the more they'll have to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been on a huge yacht rock kick as well. I Fleetwood Mac is like kind of my guilty pleasure.
That's not
Um,
that guilty.
yeah, thank you. Okay, well, that's good.
I mean, I
Yeah,
realized that like
I love them.
Dreams had that big meme moment this summer, which it's as soon as you're in a meme, you're passe again. But Fleetwood Mac is still solid.
That was very exciting, and yeah, it was funny to see all of the individual members doing their own take on it. I think my favorite was like I liked Lindsey Buckingham riding a horse. That was really funny. Um, he's very stoic. He's kind of had like a George Washington thing going, like a daddy thing going on, and but, yeah, Stevie Nicks. That was a little. I don't know if you saw her little
It was kind of
like
hard to tell what she was doing.
yeah. But God, what a group and such drama.
Hmm.
I'm kicking Lindsay out. God,
Yeah, that was recent. Was that 2020? Did that happen this year?
it was actually I think right at the end of 2018. They
Okay.
were like, yeah, it was like this whole thing, and I think like she thought during like an award ceremony, Lindsay made a face during her acceptance, and like she called their management, and he's like one of those big. I think it's like their manager is Irving Azoff. Azoff or one. It's like the biggest, stereotypical like mean manager, and he calls up Lindsey Buckingham. And he's like, Stevie didn't like the face you had given her on stage. You're out of the group. Could you imagine?
Can you
So
imagine
funny.
being Lindsey Buckingham and getting kicked out of Fleetwood Mac in 2018?
It's amazing.
Like, how petty can you be?
It's great news. It's great press in a way. So
Yeah.
dramatic.
People love drum. That's why Oasis is still doing it. That's why Morrissey still makes headlines. It's just, yeah.
There was a great tweet, and it was like, they wouldn't be Fleetwood Mac without Mick, John, Christine, Stevie, Lindsay, and drama. Like, it was so well put.
Yeah, no,
But,
that's so true. They're like the original just band that can't fucking keep their shit together.
I guess I don't know. The Mamas and the Papas they come
That
to
too,
mind.
yeah, you're right. They predated Fleetwood Mac by a little bit, didn't they?
And they had the whole like inner relation thing going on.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
Love them though.
Absolutely.
Well, geez. Anything left unsaid? I don't know.
No, I think we probably covered it. This has been a blast.
This has been so much fun, MK, and now when we do meet in person, it'll feel like, we have met. So
Yeah, exactly. It'll be nice. Yeah, I
yeah.
guess. Are you city? Are you in the city right now, or are you living upstate for the winter?
I actually, luckily, right before the pandemic, I moved out of Brooklyn. I've been living in Lower Westchester actually for almost 2 years.
Nice.
Which is kind of crazy to say that, but never thought it would happen. But yeah, so I've actually been out of the city, and it's been really helpful, especially right now, not being in the city.
Yeah.
And just having a little space, and it's great. My cost of living is significantly less, and actually I'm talking to you in my new studio office, so it's like,
Woo!
yeah, very exciting. And it's been good. So we'll see what's in, obviously moving and that kind of thing is kind of out for everybody right now, but
Yeah.
we'll see what's happening in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. Someday we will all be able to gather and watch music together again.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that. But
Me
I am okay with being safe, and I can continue doing the live shows online, and it's just everybody's got to do their part, and otherwise it's not gonna end. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, before I let you go, do you want to shout out any, your socials, or
Oh,
do you
yeah.
do the live shows on a regular schedule? What would you like to plug?
Sure. I mean, yeah. The most regular thing happening right now is my radio show, Lavender Hour, on KPIS FM, and that's every Monday at noon. And it's just a good time, and we have a lot of guests and guest DJs and musicians from all walks of life. And I'm just lining up interviews like you for that. So again, I would love to have you on one day.
Yeah, let's do it.
And other than that, I think people can stay tuned. I'm sitting on tons of new songs and a couple of the new music videos. And if they want to follow me at Sam Kogon, Kogon, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, just because I think I will probably be releasing some stuff, whether that is self-released or label-backed. It just needs to happen. So we'll be putting out some content soon on that front as well. And
Right
that's
on.
about it.
Well, I will be keeping my eyes out for all of that and happy to share it when it's ready. And yeah, thanks again for coming on. This was a blast.
Oh, it was my pleasure, MK. I look forward to tuning into all your shows. And yeah, stay well and stay warm.
Something's wrong, and you notice that you are strong when you're godless. But regardless, Something's here. Can you feel it? Something